Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to be going over the format and features of a business memo. As you're likely aware, this semester we're supposed to learn two types of writing for the business setting. One involves writing informal reports, which are usually produced as memos, and the other one is the formal report, which provides a descriptive account of a study or investigation that is described in a lengthier piece. We start with the business memo, and what I'm going to do here is very quickly walk you through the formatting elements and the features of a business memo, and then give you two examples, an example of a well written business memo and an example of a poorly written one. By comparing these two examples, I will highlight the same features and formatting elements that I will describe in the first part. So let's begin by looking at the formatting elements of a business memo. Basically, a business memo involves two sections, the heading or the header and the message itself. In the heading, we have elements such as to, from, date, and the subject line. Just like an email, we need to include the recipient's name, the sender's name, the date of the message, and a subject line that will help our readers understand what they are going to read about in the message. What is the point of this message? So I want you to follow the formatting elements as I'm showing them to you here in this video. This is in the interest of making sure that we all write in the same style and to prevent the use of our AI for producing tasks and assignments. So the first thing is I want you to always align the names and the roles of both the sender and recipient. So you can use the tab function as I showed in this as I'm showing in this example right here. So two tabs so that all the elements are aligned. So let's say this is being written to John Doe, who is the manager. Notice that I include the name, the full name, along with a job title or a role. Who is it sent from? Let's say it's sent by Jane Doe. It's a family business. Who is a lead supervisor. So as you can see, for both the sender and the recipient, I include the names and the job title for each, and they're all aligned, right? Then we have the date. You could use the month, day, year format. So let's say January 26th, 2026. And then we need to produce a subject line. Now, here are the features of a good subject line. A properly formatted subject line must be written as a phrase. It should never be a sentence. In other words, we don't have a verb with a tense. Instead of saying something like, it's snowing outside, I'm going to include something like a snowy day or heavy snowfall, for example, an adjective plus a noun, or some kind of noun phrase construction. The second rule is it should not exceed 10 to 12 words in length. We don't want a subject line that is overly lengthy. Concise writing, as you will see, is a prominent feature of the type of memos that you will be asked to complete and write. The third element of a properly written subject line is that it captures the essence. A good way to do this to make sure that you do reflect the main aim and purpose of the memo is to complete the sentence, this memo is about. And then by completing this, you will always come up with a phrase, and this phrase is more likely to reflect the main aim of the memo that you're writing. So the idea is that the subject line will define what this memo is generally about, and then the message will expand upon it. This is a feature of the type of writing that we're pursuing in this course, moving from general to specific. Next comes the message itself. So, following the heading elements, which we just looked at, we want to see how the message itself is going to be structured. So, the first paragraph of a memo is called the opening paragraph. And this is basically a one sentence summary of what the memo includes. In other words, we're trying to follow a direct approach to writing, where instead of throwing information at the reader, hoping that they can make sense of it, we will first begin by directly telling them what this memo is about, something that we already um, explained in the subject line, but also adding a bit more detail and specifying the specific aims that will be pursued. So, for example, we could say that in the subject line that the memo is about an urgent meeting on accounting issues. But then the opening paragraph or the opening statement, because it's not really a paragraph, it's only a brief statement, will include details about the nature of the accounting problem we're facing and why the meeting is necessary, very briefly in one sentence. Next, we have a series of body paragraphs. I like to refer to the body paragraphs as function paragraphs because each of these body paragraphs will pursue a clear function. Normally, you're going to have between 2 to 3 of these body or function paragraphs, each focusing on a specific function that needs to be fulfilled. For example, let's say that you are making an announcement and you think that you would need to explain the reasons why that decision is made. So the first paragraph could be solely focused on mentioning the reasons. The second paragraph might perhaps focus on the outcomes, and the third might have its emphasis on what the readers now need to do. So, as you can see, we need to have a very clear rationale for why all of this information is being put in one place. In other words, your reader should be able to put a clear label on each paragraph. In some cases, you might even want to include a heading that will do that for the reader. So you can see all of these stylistic choices that we're making are aimed at making the message more readily understandable and digestible to our readers. Finally, we end the memo with what is called a closing statement. And the closing statement will urge the reader to pursue some kind of action and will provide contact information in case they need to reach out to you. Notice that contact information was nowhere to be found in the heading. Another element that might have caught your attention is that we do not begin memos with a salutation. So we don't have dear such and such. We begin the memo very directly with the opening statement and we end it with the closing statement. The reason being that these memos are not written as an email sent from one person to another. It's mostly something that is to be circulated. So even if John is sending this memo to Jane, this message is likely to be forwarded to a group of people. And this is a major distinction between a regular email and a memo. Now let's go over some of the features, and a lot of these I already alluded to or mentioned directly. Number one, we follow a direct approach to writing here. That is, we always try to make our aims and intentions clear. We begin with an opening statement that directly expresses the purpose of the message. And each of our body paragraphs has a clear function, which we will reflect in the first sentence, which is the topic sentence. The second feature of a well written memo is that it incorporates what we call graphical highlighting. Now, graphical highlighting is when we use elements such as boldface, italicization, underlining, and bullet points and white space to make certain pieces of information which we deem to be important stand out. So boldface, italicization, underlining, bullet points where you have a bullet, and then white space in between the paragraphs so that it's easy on the eyes, and you're trying to allow readers to skim rather than read every single word. So you might have received an email where there was a lot of words and they were all cramped together. That's not very welcoming, right? It doesn't urge the reader to want to take a quick look. And that's what we're trying to encourage. We're trying to allow our readers to quickly move their eyes over the text, first of all, gain an understanding of what the message is about, and then quickly locate the specific detail that they might be interested in. Okay, now having reviewed some of the main features and elements of a memo, let's take a look at a few examples